One of my best friends was a radio personality. I used to do her hair, and I did a lot of social media. I was the social media director. So I started working with her on like photo shoots and creative directing for like, I did a lot of creative directing for photo shoots and video shoots. And that's how her and I kind of like really bonded. We were both like entrepreneurial women. We actually met at a women's luncheon for like entrepreneurs, and it was called the Cornucopia. And so that's how I met her. And then I actually didn't even really know who she was. And I think she kind of liked that because she was a celebrity. I'm not even kidding. In our little town, she was like the it girl. She had a big morning show. Everybody loved her. And I didn't really know who she was. And I didn't treat her like weird or anything. I guess people treat her weird. So we just kind of hit it off and like started working together. And but yeah, and so I was kind of always involved in that side of things, on the social media side of radio. And she's super good at social media, like really, really good at it. So her and I were always like super involved in the community and working together on photo shoots and stuff. And then her co-host, she got a new co-host, and his name's Anthony. He was from Detroit. And that's how I met Anthony, who's my life partner now. And so and he's in radio. And because I've always been in social media and marketing, it kind of just happened, you know. So I worked in radio for a little bit, but I've always kind of been more on the consulting side of social media for radio.
You did sales for a little bit, right?
I did sales for a little bit. Yeah, not with her. Like we had always kind of planned on that. And I actually wasn't planning on going into radio to do sales. Like initially, it was like kind of more of like a foot in the door for the social media side. So because I had already been working with, radio talent on their social media. So it kind of just made sense that, that would be kind of the natural progression of things. But, I thought sales would be a good way for me to identify how to sell social media and how to like talk about it with people and learn that side of the business too, because I like to learn from the inside out. I want to know everything there is to know about like an industry when I get into it.
While you're working in sales, is that when you started to realize that, wait a second, there's kind of a disconnect between the sales and promotion side?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So in the industry I came from, like working in the hair industry and the food industry, everything's super collaborative. They're companies, but I worked in the food industry. I worked in marketing for Cisco Foods, which is like the largest food distribution company in the world. And then I worked for Paul Mitchell, and I worked for the number 3 Paul Mitchell salon. So I got to work with a lot of their national educators and a lot of their higher up teams, and got to like really observe the social media, how all of that interacts. And it is, both of them are pretty supportive industries as far as like fostering creativity, working together as teams. And so I came from especially the hair industry is super duper social media, team oriented. It's very collaborative. It's very supportive. Everybody's accessible. Like working for Paul Mitchell, I got to meet John Paul DeJorio, who is like a multi-billionaire, and he was accessible. He's more accessible than the higher ups in the small little media company that I worked for, so it's a totally different mindset. And it was very bizarre to me because I was just like, whoa, like nobody talks to each other. Like everybody hates each other. Nobody talks to each other. It's so competitive, like amongst each other. And I'm like, whoa, we could be doing so much more if we were just like working together and like, really supporting each other in our positions. And like, because it's a lot, especially when you're working in media,
Do you mean like how sales and and the programming side kind of just like butt heads a lot?
Yeah, it's so unnecessary. I just feel like it makes so much more sense to be collaborative and like be like, being in marketing, in food and in hair, you have to be good at sales. But I don't really like the old school sales pitch, like, hi, I'm Deseree, like, give me your money because I have this really cool gadget, I like to be like passionate. I want my passion for what I do to ooze out of me so much that you're like, oh my God, like, I want to be where you're at. I'm interested just because of how interested you are. Like, I want it to be palpable, and I want everybody to feel included. I want everybody to be a part of it because I just feel like it's just so much more effective. Like if everyone's working as a team, like I used to manage a salon, and I mean, that's a bunch of women, creative women. And there were times where people would, people would butt heads. It happens, but we got so good at communicating, and we got so good at like just hashing out our problems and working together and coming back to like the common thread, the common goal of like, hey, we really want to like provide the best product we can. We want to be the best at it. So, and we want to be, and we like our culture. We were very culture like oriented. We wanted you to walk in and feel like a part of the family, because one of the biggest pet peeves we had was going to a salon. And what a lot of customers had pet peeves of is going to a salon and feeling like your stylist is judging you or the stylist next to you is judging you. And so we really wanted to create a very family oriented. We did everybody's hair around like a big table. So everybody was like looking at each other and interacting together like a big family. So, coming from that kind of culture, and then we're in the Pacific Northwest. So I feel like, Dutch Bros, like that Dutch Bros culture.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's family. So, it just makes it so much, it makes everybody's job easier.
When your friend too, when you were helping her with social media and kind of doing that stuff, did you not realize that yet, since you were still kind of on the outside, and you said she was good at social media? So did you kind of figure that everything was sort of right on the other end?
Yeah. I had no clue. She used to tell me little stories about like how bad, she would say things like that. But because she is so good at social media, and because her show was so successful, I did not know, that it was like it is. I just assumed, that it's media. Like I thought media knew media. So I just didn't even think about it, coming from marketing. You think radio, of all things, like, that's a media company, that's a marketing company. But I don't know. I don't know what happened. It's an interesting thing, I think. But I think there's so many amazing people in the industry, in this radio industry,
You made a good point earlier when you said something about how you, with sales, you want it to kind of ooze, the excitement for the product and everything, because it's like, then the person is like, I want to be a part of that. And it's so crazy. And I don't know if you experienced it there, but I hear it all the time of where people are saying like, yeah, our salespeople don't even listen to the show. Like they don't know what's on there. So I just am like, how do you get excited about like something a product you're not even connected with?
See, that's part of it. Like when you're creating that dynamic, well, first of all, I think that there's a lot of animosity that is not necessary, because what I see in the dynamic, and this isn't all of the radio stations. I just hear a similar theme, and it's the one that I experienced, where the management style is divisive, and then there's so much pressure. I think all of the pressure kind of falls onto the sales staff. Like everything kind of falls onto them. It's, shit rolls downhill. So the sales team's kind of always the last people to kind of really get it, because they're the ones out in the field, slinging the stuff. So I think that it's a really old school selling too, which is kind of interesting. A really not fun job when you're just out there like slinging stuff, like going door to door. If the whole premise of how to get that to ooze out, like how to make that connection, is to get the sales staff involved, make them feel a part of it. Like one of the things that really shocked me getting into the radio industry was seeing that they had a separate meeting for sales staff and not having a combined staff meeting. I think everybody should be at both meetings. I think it should just be one meeting, and then if you need smaller meetings, okay. But to not have anybody connect ever, like have them be part of the, process of coming up with ideas. Like if they feel some sort of ownership over it and pride in the product, and if you are their friend, are you like, I can sell my friends. I love my friends. I can sell my friends all day. I'm going to be at the bar talking about my friends. I'm going to be in line at Yolks, talking about my friends. I
believe in
that. I believe in it. And I was able to grow our little salon. So it was the number, it's a part of a group that was number 3 Paul Mitchell Salon, but it was like the newest location, and they didn't know anybody in the area. I didn't know anybody in the area. I was from New Mexico, so I was brand new. I had to go market this place with having like really no budget. So we did it all via social media and just networking, getting out there, and talking to people. And because of the culture my boss had built, like it was literally, we were so solid. We were friends. It was so nurturing, so creative. Like she was so supportive of us. We were talking about our job 24/7, even when we were making less than $100 a week. Like we were out there talking about it constantly, and quickly we became like the most popular salon in town. Everybody knew who we were. I mean, it was the it place to be. We were winning awards in the city. Like it was crazy how it just in 1 year, it went from 0 to 100. And it was just through marketing online and networking, like feet on the pavement, going to every networking event, every birthday party, bridal shower people invited me to. I went to every single one of them. Local radio should be the heart of the community. And if you shifted from trying to, literally I had a marketing manager tell me, go, because I was like, people don't want to buy radio right now. And he's like, well, you should tell them, do they like divorce? Do they like bankruptcy? Because that's what's going to happen if they don't advertise their business. And I'm like, I don't think building relationships off of fear, and especially if we can't deliver, which I know that maybe, but it depends on how much they buy and how consistently they buy. We know the game.
Mm-hmm.
We know the game. If they're going to only spend, a couple $100 a month, they're probably not going to get enough bang for their buck. But if we switch the mentality of like, instead of trying to trick them out of some of their money, many opportunities. And it's just like, I don't, but I don't know if it's just because I come from the, I myself am an influencer, so I have experience with that. I know how to monetize it. That's the other thing, that is crazy to me is that the way that radio sells social media is not an industry standard. They clearly don't know how to sell it, because the way that they sell it, well, first they give it all away as added value, but like if you are an influencer, you have like a one sheet, and that's how you sell. You have like a pitch deck, and I have not seen any radio personalities with a pitch deck. So I'm like, okay, so that's interesting. That tells me that we are so disconnected from what the industry standards are as far as influencer marketing, and the way that it is in radio's best interest to learn it, because what they're doing is they're actually devaluing not only their product, but the entire industry's product by saying giving it such a deflated value when it's going for way more over here. You should be taking advantage of that. We have that product to offer.
The whole influencer thing and radio people being like the original influencers, whenever I see events or people not being responsive and stuff like that, I'm like, there's no reason why radio people shouldn't have that following, because there's people that want to meet the influencers and local influencers, but radio doesn't have that pool anymore because they valued it.
Actually, this is so funny. I was going to make a TikTok about it, but I'm just going to show you really quick because I found this today. So I follow this girl, and all she does is listen to second date updates. So she does a second date update.
Okay.
He is on part 94. She's done this 94 times. Okay, so this influencer.
Okay.
I'm going to go to her profile. She has 83,000 followers.
Oh.
And 2.3 million likes. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. She tagged the radio station. 897 followers.
Oh, my God.
So their product that they could be making digital content with, or they should be partnering with this girl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That content got her 100,000 followers and over 2 million likes, but that radio station only has 800 followers. So clearly, packaged right, radio stuff can go viral and it can do well. They're missing out. That gal can make a whole lot of money off of that, and that's all she really does. Mm-hmm. So it's I'm saying that's a lot of money on the table.
And I think that's what excited me too in talking to you, because you have worked directly with that stuff. And it's I see it, I just can't speak to it as well. So speaking to, with you, it was oh my gosh, because that's their whole thing is we're down revenue. And then they keep cutting talent. But it's I know that you understand, well, talent's the most valuable asset you have, because you can build it all around that, the influencer marketing. And it's just, So I guess when you're putting this all together, isn't that what inspired you guys to start your own consultancy and be like, wait a minute, because if we try to, how slow it goes if you're trying to change the mind while working there?
Yeah, and it's kind of like an experiment right now. And it was one of those things where we got asked to do it. We weren't like looking to do that. We were interviewing because we were just looking for other opportunities, trying to see, like, we were just talking to people, networking, and somebody asked us to consult. And so we were like, okay, well, let's just start playing with this and seeing, like, I'm going to start posting more educational videos on like social media, like, because I've been doing social media consulting for a little while now, a long while now, actually. And I managed other people's brands. I've done social media strategy work for brands and for people. And it's really less complicated than people make it sound. But the problem is that the radio industry has people who don't know that don't know social media teaching social media. So then it seems a lot harder than it is, or they oversimplify it and give no, like, I call it fold the cheese, when they're like, just fold the cheese, David. And it's like, but they don't actually know what they're just do the social media, just do it. It's like, well, how? And you're like, just do it. And, they don't know how, but they're telling you to do. I mean, it's not like I figured this out overnight. I've been doing this for a decade now. Like, this is new for me. To expect radio personalities to be able to do that overnight, and I get that there's not money to invest in it immediately for some people. I get that there's, that this is a complete mind shift change, that this is different, that this is, a completely different, and it's really not different. It's this, and the baseline, it's exactly the same thing. It's just the video element and learning the platforms, but it's really not as complicated as people make it sound, and there's a way to make it flow. And that's what bigger content creators do. You have their team set up so that everything, runs smoothly. But right now it's like they have one person that they expect to do the job of like 10 different people. Like when your social media influencers and when your radio jocks start getting bigger followings, you should be raising the rates of what your commercials cost to be on air. You should be raising the rates of how much it costs for you to do an appearance. Like I take this, for example, Anthony, he has 18,000 followers or so, but they're charging the same, they're charging less for him for remotes than they are anybody else in the station. And they should be charging more because they can. They're taking money out of their own pocket. So, it's just trying right now. That's why we started the business. We're like trying to shift the mindset of seeing this as like, this is going to help everybody. This is going to help jocks. It's going to help AEs. Imagine being an AE and you don't have to go out there and sell. People are calling you.
Yes. And it totally can be that way.
I don't have room for you. I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to people. And then you're just calculating your commission because, girl, you're about to make some money. That's what I'm talking about. Let's make everybody's job easier. Yeah, it's going to be hard learning it. It's going to be scary learning, like doing something new. But this is an industry that already exists.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a mysterious, we don't know what's going to happen. It exists. And it's successful. Radio has really shut itself off from the creative community. And the creative community supports each other. So if radio just popped it open and said, hey, come over here. We're doing something fun over here. Come over. We're going to throw these collaborative events. We want to see you work. And if you started getting to know these people and signing them to your agency and taking 20% of the sales that your sales staff can get for them. I mean, it's the same way that you sell. It's very similar to the way that you sell radio. It's actually a lot simpler than the way you sell radio. Radio is complicated. Like, yeah, it's the Nielsen and Cumes and this and that. And it's like, man, social media is so much easier to sell than that.
Do you think that stations are pulling away from Nielsen if they were to embrace all that side, like the social media and the streaming analytics and stuff like that, that they have a better advantage to creating more revenue than somebody that's just sticking to the old Nielsen model?
1,000%. Oh my gosh. So influencer marketing last year did 17 billion, which was on par with radio. This year, influencer marketing did, I think it's projected to do like 20 something billion, maybe 23 billion. It's gone up quite a bit. I actually kind of want to pull up that 21.1 billion, up from 17 billion a year ago, up from 6 billion, I believe, in 2016. So you can see how drastically that industry is growing, how quickly it's growing compared to radio, which is stagnant and will probably start to drop. The advertising pie keeps growing. Radio is not growing with it anymore. And so they have to think of something else. I also worked for a podcast. She had a team of 8.
Wow.
8 people for one podcast. And they want radio personalities to do the podcast, to write 3 articles a day, to be the PD, voice track in 6 different markets, also do promotions. And my partner, Anthony, he was told if he wanted to move time slots, he had to attach $50,000 to his name first. So also has to be an AE,
Oh my God.
And so it's like, you can't, like, I don't think they understand that there's just no possible way to do all of that. And I don't expect, and I know I'm a huge proponent for social media, but I actually know social media. So I know there's no way you're going to be able to do this all by yourself. It's just way more revenue than what you're dealing with now. When you have an ad space on radio, you're selling it maybe max $40 for that, 30 to 60 second ad space. But in influencer marketing, you could be charging that already for your 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
You could be charging, like, for my social media, it's anywhere from, 1,000 to 5,000 for the same amount. People want your genuine self. The reason why people aren't buying advertising on radio anymore is because there's zero trust. They don't trust you. They don't believe you. They don't want to be sold to, which is the other thing that I drive home with people. When you expand your product line, that's the other thing. You don't have to take money from people you don't believe in. Like, I'm not going to be accepting money from a cause or a company or a product that is not in line with who I am. On my social media, I got offered to do a campaign for, like, some alcohol beverage. I don't drink alcohol. And most of the people who follow me are recovering from abuse. That doesn't really align with my brand, like health gummies or something, like weed, maybe. But not alcohol. Like, I would do some weird shit with, like, country, and, like, I would do some weird, just be weird. If radio, the radio wave and the radio station, it like that, if that's not your main bread and butter anymore, you can get weird with it.